Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I'm your host Al Richards, and we have the lovely Janessa with us today.
Hello.
How are you? How was your trip down here? Was it good?
Yeah, it was great.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
no
It's always a
traffic.
pleasure seeing your smiling face.
Thanks.
and just thank you
It's a
for being
pleasure.
here. Yeah,
I love it.
We also want to take this time to say thank you to Matter Behavioral Health out of Mount Pleasant. Guys, if you're looking for a different type of recovery center, these guys actually work from the inside out, which is really, really cool. And I think you guys can see on the camera, but there's like 5 books here. So Janie Marvin is the one who's written all these books. She is the one that actually started Matter Behavioral. And man, this gal has been studying the brain for like over 20 years. And she has like broke down the meaning of like every single word. I think she has something like 15 of the yellow pads just to break down the word of.
Wow.
Or if. It was one of those. But so these guys are awesome. The whole staff, everybody's incredible. Matter of fact, Brad and I, we were just down in ST.GEORGE, and we stopped in to see their new facility down there, which is going to be flipping awesome. So guys, again, if you're looking for a different type of rehab, give Matter Behavioral a call at 435-462-2781. That's 435-462-2781. So we have a real special guest with us today. We've got Ashton McDonald, and I heard about Ashton when my wife went to one of his classes. And we were talking before the show. She came home, and I don't think I've ever seen her that pumped up.
Heck yeah.
So whatever you did, you hit a spot. So before we get into it, just let our listeners know a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, my name's Ashton. I've been in recovery for 5 years, over 5 years. I used to use meth and alcohol and cocaine and Adderall, and I hit bottom, like below bottom.
Below bottom?
I thought I was at bottom, and then I found another one.
Yeah, I think we've heard that before. I think,
I was homeless, lived in my car, sold drugs, stole stuff, hurt a lot of people.
Wow.
My disease is addiction. I don't believe in, like, for myself, it's okay if others do, but like for me, I don't believe in classifying it into one drug, because it's like playing whack-a-mole. Like I'll get one addiction's done, and then all of a sudden, dink! Oh, dang it! There's another one.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
so like I ended up going to jail. I did 9 months in Vegas in the jail there, and it saved my life. Like I tell a lot of people that. So the reason I went to jail is because I sold drugs to a confidential informant. And now, like, when I'm talking to, like, people in addiction, they're like, oh, dang it, that sucks. I'm like, no, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. It saved my life, right?
Yeah.
And I went, so, like, while I was in there, spirituality is a huge part of my recovery.
Yeah.
And I found a Bible, and I read that thing front to back in there.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it was cool to read it without someone telling me how to believe. Like,
Yeah.
just me and God telling me how to believe. And it was really powerful that way. And that's actually the way I grew up, though. Like, I grew up in a faith where everybody has the right to believe. And in our, like, Sunday school, there's 2 boxes. One says believe it, the other one says don't believe it. And we can freely put what we don't believe in the don't believe box, and the teacher won't get mad at us or anything like that. So
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was all love-based. Like, there was none of this fire and brimstone stuff that we hear about. And that was huge, because, like, when I got back into it and it helped me in recovery, I didn't have, like, a lot of people I deal with, because I work with a lot of people in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people I deal with have a lot of guilt and shame.
Mm-hmm.
And if I dig deep enough, I would say 9 out of 10 people have that guilt and shame because of religious leaders telling them that what they did was wrong and they're bad and God hates them and
They're going to hell.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and I can see that, because in some videos that we was doing the other day, I made this comment that addicts are not the labels that society puts on them.
Sure.
And society has a way of doing that, and I believe I don't know, I guess it could be all religions, that if you don't follow a certain way, then you're kind of cast off to the side, you know.
Yeah.
And
It's not all religions, but a lot of them.
a lot of them, yeah, a lot of them.
They
And
can be very rigid.
very rigid. And I like to see what's happening now, even here in Utah, which the LDS is the prominent religion here, but to see that they're finally starting to open up,
Sure.
saying, hey, look, just because somebody doesn't believe what you believe,
Doesn't make them bad.
it doesn't make them bad. Yeah, it's just we all have our own beliefs, right? My wife and I, we sat down with our bishop about a week ago,
Oh, cool.
and he was like, I'd really like to see you guys in Sacramento a lot more. And it's like, yeah, my wife, she does her best to try to go, and a lot of times she goes by herself, and we have some neighbors that always sit by her, you know, so
Yeah.
it's not like she's sitting alone. But you know, and he was looking at me when he said it, and I'm like, you know, I enjoy it sometimes, but it's like, for me, my spirituality, my church is when I go hike.
I love nature. Yeah, I'm a hiker.
I get out in nature, and there is something about being in those mountains where that spirituality just like, it just starts coming out like tenfolds.
Yeah,
And I start
it's amazing.
feeling, I mean, see, I'm even getting goosebumps thinking about it. It's just, I just get this crazy feeling. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm what's considered. So I go to school. I'm going to school to be a pastor. So like, I've learned about a lot of things,
That's so cool.
like spiritual and stuff. And I'm what's considered a pluralist. And if you don't know what that means,
I don't.
a pluralist is someone. I believe that all religions are right. They all lead to the same path. So it's not so much about like the absolute truth. It's more about like what's right for you, right? Because I don't think that all these religions would exist if there wasn't a purpose for each and every one of them.
Yeah.
And I feel like there is. And I practice a lot. I'm like a religious. Somebody called me a spiritual slut one time.
A spiritual slut?
Because,
Oh, wow.
Because like, and it's not a bad thing. It's because like I do a lot of different spiritual things.
Yeah.
Like I can't just have one.
Take the good from a bunch
Yeah,
of
I
them.
gotta have all of them.
Yeah.
Like I do Buddhist meditations. I do Native American spiritual things like Sweat Lodge, like the Sobriety class that your wife likes to go to. And I do Christian stuff, like I'm going to school to be a pastor. I preach a lot, and so I find like the positive and the beauty in everything. And I've found that like, so when I have one set of spiritual beliefs, I'm only getting a part of it. But when I'm looking
Good
at
point.
all of them, I'm getting the bigger picture. Because in my belief, I believe that there's like one force out there that some people call God, some people call Allah, some people call Dharma, some people call Tunkashala, some people call Yahweh, whatever you want to call it. And every single religion is like a different interpretation of that being. So like the more that I look at all of them, the more complete of a picture I'm getting.
I don't think I've ever met anyone that looks at it that way, you know, of gathering all of it. Because like you said, the road is the same.
Sure.
Really? I mean,
Yeah.
right, you know. And I know a lot of religions have put their own little twists in it, but really the whole meaning behind all of it is, like you said,
Yeah.
it's the road's final for all of them, right?
Well, if you look at every single one, like it's like love others. Okay, cool. Forgive others. Okay, cool. Be generous. Okay, cool. Be compassionate. Okay, cool. Be positive. Okay, cool. They just are. It's like my way of loving and being more compassionate is better than your way of loving and being more. It's the same thing.
It is the
And
same
like
thing.
you said, it's so different for everybody,
Yeah,
right?
for
'Cause
sure.
the way that I show love or receive it is so different from how everyone does, right?
Well,
Yeah.
So
That's why they wrote the book Love Languages,
Yeah.
right? Because we all look at love and receive love in different ways. Yeah.
Sure.
Huh, that's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
to kind of get back into the addiction stuff, the majority of our guests started at a very early age. We're talking 12, 13 years old.
Sure.
Gosh, we just had one, I think was 5. It was 5 years old. Somebody that
my
I was
heck.
talking to,
Yeah, I've heard
or
of
maybe it
that.
was last week. Yeah, it was 5 years old is when it started. So what was it like for you? I mean, the majority of the people that have come on have fought some kind of trauma, You
Sure.
know, whether a parent left, or it was a divorce, or it was sexual abuse or physical abuse, or, you know, an accident, or gosh, there's just so many of them that lead people not even realizing it. It starts putting them down that different road, and then by the time they do realize it, they've gone hundreds and hundreds of miles down that
Yeah.
road.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, for me, it started when I was. See, I believe there's a lot of different opinions on this, but I believe I was born with the disease of addiction. I
Okay.
can't remember a time in my life where I didn't have it. It doesn't mean I was using drugs when I was young, because my problem is not drugs and alcohol. That's my solution.
Yeah.
I use it because I don't know how to deal with life,
It's
and I've got
coping,
all
yeah.
these different defects and less than useful behaviors that I don't know how to deal with, right? So I want to escape them, right? So I've always wanted to escape since I was a little kid. I always lived in fantasy land, like freaking, I'm some kind of knight taking over our kingdom, like freaking, but I'd take it to extremes. Like I would spend a whole day doing that.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
and then I started lying. Like I didn't like who I was, so I didn't think other people liked who I was. So then I would tell them a story of who I was, right? But it wasn't my true self. And that was really what I think my first addiction was lying to people. Like I was addicted. And I know I was addicted because if I got caught in a lie, my solution wasn't to tell the truth. My solution
Keep
was
lying.
to tell another lie.
Yeah.
I know what'll fix this lying problem. Let's tell some more lies.
Yeah. Cover that up.
I can get that. Yeah, I can get that.
So you mentioned trauma, like a lot of. So my parents divorced before I can remember, and so the first thing that really kind of I think triggered that kind of lying and being a chameleon was the fact that when I was with my dad split custody, so I'd be at one that's equal amount of time, right? So I'd be at my dad's house, and my dad's like really liberal and super like easy. It's not, I never really got punished by my dad that much. And my mom's kind of like that, but she had like, I'd have stepdads, so they would be more strict. So like one set of rules when I'm with dad, and then another set of rules when I'm with mom. But then mom divorces, gets another one, then I gotta learn a whole other set of rules.
Yeah, no
That'd be
kidding.
hard.
So like sometimes I didn't know who I was supposed to be. So
Yeah.
when I'd show up, and then I'd spend time with my grandparents, and I lived with them for a while too. And then there's another set of rules. So like
Yeah.
I learned how to be a chameleon at a very young age, and a lot of those stepdads. I witnessed a lot of abuse, and I was the victim of some abuse. Like, I saw my mom get beat at a very young age, like blood and stuff.
Oh my god.
Jeez almighty.
I saw her get hit while she was holding my little baby sister. She got hit, and So one of my biggest trauma responses that I still haven't conquered is I'm super protective towards women, like even ones that I don't know, and like. It sounds like that could be a good thing, but like I can get myself into a lot of trouble that way too. Like, cause like I'm not freaking the toughest kid on the block, you know. So like, and so a lot of that trauma, like I had a lot of emotions I didn't know how to deal with, and I felt really powerless at a young age, cause I was 8 and this like 33-year-old man was like just destroying my mom, you know what I mean? And like,
I can't imagine.
I remember one time I hid under, because I played baseball, I remember one time I hid under the stairs with a baseball bat, and I'm like, if he comes down here, I'm going to
You're going to nail him.
And he never
Wow.
came down, thankfully, because I probably would have got beat with my own baseball bat. But it's just that kind of stuff, like growing up in that kind of an environment. And
Ugh, that'd be awful.
my mom was married multiple times, and there was another one, the father of my other sister, he beat her too. So like I couldn't escape it. And I don't know, I never really thought that like I deserved it or anything, but I didn't know why I always had to be around the violence. And there once when I was like 17, I thought I was strong enough to like fight my stepdad one time, and I thought I could stand up to him, and it didn't really work out the way
Didn't
I
work
thought
out
it
the
would.
way you planned it.
Oh my gosh.
There's like holes in the wall, and like we were wrestling, and no one really won, but no one really, we both lost basically. And,
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, and I mean, so that's the kind of trauma that like I was around, and a lot of psychological trauma too. Step parents telling me like, I'm not good enough. I'm like really bad, and why can't you just be good, and all this, being super hard on me and not being hard on my other siblings and stuff like that. So like really confused. Like, what did I do to deserve this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like my siblings were getting away with way worse things than I was, and for some reason,
You're kind of the scapegoat.
yeah, it was weird. I didn't understand it.
You know, it's this is what I really enjoy about doing this show and having the guests on the show. So when we had Amber Lee on the show, she was sitting in the same chair that you're sitting in, and she looked over and she says, you know, sorry, Al, but I just don't like men.
Yeah.
She says, I just don't like men.
Sure.
And I understand the reason why.
Yeah.
You know, of what she went through. You know, she was trafficked for sex, and you know, and you know, the guys got their thumb on them at all times. I mean, they're being watched continuously, and a lot of bad things happen to her. Then we hear someone like yourself, who is the male dominant, but you can't stand people who are picking on women because of what you have seen.
Sure.
So it's crazy how you get to see both sides of why people look at things the way that they look at it. It's because of the upbringing and the trauma, what you went through. I mean, you went through a ton of trauma. She went through a ton of trauma. And we have a way of picking something. I mean, I had a friend who lost a brother who was killed by a different nationality. Could not stand that nationality. It wasn't the nationality that killed his brother.
Sure.
It was just that one person.
Yeah.
But to see how it changed, and I won't say, you know, which nationality it was, because I don't think that's right, but
Yeah.
we automatically think that they're all this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
it's
so
weird.
you may, when you see a guy being ignorant to a woman, you know, you're seeing what you saw happen to your
I
mom. And Amber Lee, whenever she sees a guy, she's seeing what all these flipping men have done to her. So we have that way of kind of wrapping it up and putting it in a tight package and not allowing it to break free.
And that's where I lived in my disease a lot, because I didn't look at the fact. That's why now I can say that it's not a healthy thing for me to be overly protective over women.
Yeah.
Because first of all, if I'm let's say I'm walking down the street and I see a guy screaming at a lady, right? I don't know what that lady did to that guy. Maybe that lady freaking
Deserved it.
Yeah, maybe she stabbed him in the leg, or maybe she's freaking trying to take his kids, you know. And I don't know what the heck she did. So I can get myself into a sticky situation that way. You know what I mean? And
makes sense.
And I mean, not to be harsh, like I want to help people and all that, but sometimes it's none of my business too. Like, I mean, if a guy's hitting a girl, I'm gonna step in.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's something.
If there's
different,
like an argument, like it's not my place. You know what I mean? And that's living life through trauma. And that's a lot of why I started drinking. You mentioned a young age. I was like 14 or 15 when I started drinking and smoking pot and all that stuff. And it's kind of funny, the first time I drank, like I should have known I had a problem right off the bat, because I stole a half a bottle of Jaeger from my dad.
Oh, you went for Jaeger, huh?
I went for broke. I didn't start with beer.
Whoa.
I was like, let's skip the games. Let's just get it done. And so I drank about like half of what I had, so probably a quarter bottle of Jaeger right off the bat. First, like I maybe had a couple sips of beer, but I'd never like been intoxicated, and like I freaking right off the bat, quarter bottle of Jaeger, just drunk. And about 30 minutes later, I had baseball practice.
Oh my goodness!
So I'm like,
how was practice?
I'm like in the outfield, like stumbling around, freaking dirt on my pants, didn't even get a ball hit to me, and freaking I finally went up to the coach. I was like, I'm sick, and I just laid in the dugout the rest of the time. And then I had school the next, like summer school. I was in summer school, and when I try at school, I'm really good at school. Like I can get good grades, you know. So I was trying in summer school, and I was hitting 99s on all my tests and stuff, and I had a test the next day. I got like 80, my dad's like, I don't know what's going on with you, Ashton. Half a bottle of Jaeger's missing out of my fridge. I know it was you. Freaking, I found all the pot plants in your room. I got rid of those for you. And freaking,
Oh my gosh.
you got an 80 on your test, man. What the heck's going on? And
Man, at that age, I wasn't even, well, maybe I tried a beer here and there, but I didn't even start smoking pot till like 2 weeks before we graduated. And I still couldn't get an 88 on my test.
I know. I'm like, that's actually really good.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
don't feel too bad because I was in summer school because like I didn't want to go to school. Like I just hated it. I'd rather do other things.
I was the same way.
Write music or stuff like that. And but yeah, so that's a huge red flag. Like the first time I drank, I had consequences. Like a person that doesn't suffer from the disease of addiction didn't usually. Some of them don't ever get consequences, but the first time I drank, I got consequences. So like I know I have a problem for sure. I know that I cannot touch alcohol.
But also, was it the feeling? I mean, because we've had, like feeling. Ian was on the show, and he's like, first time he drank it, he's like, oh yeah, this is the greatest stuff I've ever had. It's the greatest thing in the world, because he knew automatically it put him where he really wanted to be.
Yeah, I got that feeling for sure. I was comfortable being myself and comfortable. But drinking was never really a social thing for me. It was more just like a
escape.
I mostly drank alone. I did drink with people, but most of the time I drank it was alone. And a lot of my drugging was alone.
Like George Thorogood, huh? Always drank alone?
Yeah.
Friends Jim Beam and Black and Brown. And
Just hanging out with Johnny Walker.
Yeah,
and that's what a lot of it was. And I just didn't. I had a saying, my stepmom always would tell me I had a problem, right? Because I drank alone. I was like, well, I've never gotten in trouble when I was drinking by myself, but I always get in trouble when I'm drinking with other people.
Well, at least you recognize that, right?
You're like, I'm doing this the smart way.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
So yeah, that was my justification right there. Was like I don't get in trouble when I drink alone, And
That's interesting.
but it was very, very. It wasn't healthy, like because I didn't drink, like, I always had a reason to drink, right? It was like to escape emotions and to escape fear and all this stuff. And eventually, like, it progressed, right? Like, I moved back to Cali because I got in trouble with my dad. A huge part of my story is I took advantage of the fact that I was a child of divorced parents. So, like, I get in trouble with my dad, go to my mom's. Get in trouble with my mom, go to my dad.
Go back to dad's, yeah.
Just run away every time. Like, okay, heat's down at dad's house. Let's go back over there now.
Yeah. And I can see that. I definitely see that happening because I divorced with my daughter's mom, and as they were getting their teenage years, I remember my oldest daughter called me up, and her mom had a fight.
Yeah.
And she called me up and she goes, Dad, I want to live with you. I'm like, why do you want to live with Dad? And she went on talking about what happened with her and her mom, and it's the first time I even heard my daughter call her mom the B word. And I come on court, and I'm like, don't you ever let me hear you say or call your mom that again. And her mom and I, we're good friends now, but we were still butting heads like rams at that time. But I said, why don't you just cool down, let things cool down a little bit. I think it's just, and she's like, nope, Dad, I want to come and live with you. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of her rules. And I was like, well, Dad has rules too. I mean, and probably a lot of my rules are going to be the same as her rules.
Sure.
But yeah, so I can see that happening.
Sure. Yeah. And there was one time when I was in Cali with my mom, living with the stepdad that beat her a lot, and he was really strict and super controlling, and but my dad finally put his foot down when I called him and I was like, I want to move back. He's like, just finish the school year there and we'll see what happens after, but you can't come back right now. And I was just like, dang it. He's on to me.
Yeah, he's going to figure it out.
Because my dad taught me something really powerful at a young age. It takes two to tango. And my dad went to he's got a bachelor's degree in psychology, so I could never fool him. Like, he always, like, dang it. Sometimes he let me think I had him fooled, but he always knew what was going on.
He knew what he was doing.
And like, I'd always, so that kind of was one of the things that helped me break that kind of victim stance, and like, because I'm sure my mom never really did anything to deserve to get beat, but she probably did some stuff to make him angry, you know what I mean? And it's never okay to hit someone, but like, like when they're fighting and stuff, like I would always take my mom's side every time. It was my mom's right, even if she
well, yeah, I mean, well, that's why they always say mama's boys, because we protect our moms, right? Yeah.
And so that was a huge thing, and my dad kind of helped put that in perspective. He's like, first of all, you're the kid. Like, you don't need to fight all the battles. You know what I mean? They're supposed to be protecting you. And two, he's like, I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but it was like, open your mind a little and don't look at it through like blurred perspective, because you're looking at it as your mom's son. So obviously everything that happens to her is going to be the other person's fault. But look at both sides. Try and see what she's doing too. And that's helped me a lot in my life, even in my recovery. See all perspectives.
Yeah.
I don't judge people when I'm looking at all perspectives. And I know that I can't stay in recovery if I'm judging people. Because a lot of my addiction had to do with ego, right? And a lot of people have a misperception of ego, and they think that ego means I'm better than. No, ego means I'm either better than or less than.
Yeah.
And humility is right-sized, like knowing my worth and knowing who I am. And I personally believe that everybody has infinite greatness. We all have infinite greatness within us, but it's all different. Like, some people are really great plumbers. If you put me in a plumbing job site, those people will probably sleep in water. But I'm just kidding. But if you put those people that are really good plumbers in the sanctuary of a church, they probably won't preach as good as me. You know what I mean? So like, we all have infinite greatness. It's just different, right?
Yeah.
And then we all have weaknesses too. So like, a lot of my addiction was like, I was judging people. This is the insanity of addiction, right? I was a meth addict. Like, in the height of my addiction, I was a meth addict. And I looked at heroin users like scum of the earth. I was like, you silly head. What the heck?
That's
you don't have it figured out. I got meth. I can stay up for 7 days. You guys can't even stay up for 7 minutes. And
you were putting the perspectives in place,
and,
oh my gosh.
And now looking back on it, like, I'm sure all the heroin users that are watching are like, screw that guy.
Yeah, screw that guy. We'll show him.
And now looking back on it, that was insane. I was using a drug that kills people, and like, I was freaking strung out, had no job, couldn't keep a job, couldn't keep a relationship, couldn't keep friends. My family didn't want to be around me, and I thought I was better than someone.
You know, and I'm so glad that you brought this up, Ashton. I mean, I really am, because when my wife was in the depth of her addiction, I could always tell when she was starting to slide backwards. Because she would go to recovery, whether it was 30 days or 60 days or however long it was, and she would come out and she would just accept things the way that it was. Slowly but surely, like, we'd be in a store and she'd be looking at somebody and she'd start saying something about them. Or she'd start saying something about this person, or saying something about even me, you know. And it's like, I knew when she was getting ready to fall off that ledge by how much she was starting to judge other people.
Yeah, the blame game.
The
pointing fingers, and you're like, what? Uh-oh. You know, it's that red flag.
Yeah, exactly right.
I can tell that with my husband too.
You could tell the same thing? Yeah. Because they're justifying. They're justifying, I'm okay. Look at them. You know, and I had to do the same thing. So I'm glad, again, you brought this up, because I put everything that was going on in my life on my wife's shoulders. Everything was her fault. It was her fault. Once I started waking up and I started realizing I've got just as many rocks in this sand pit that she has.
Yeah.
Right. For sure.
And if not, maybe even more, because I kept doing the same things over and over and over, expecting different results, and I never ever got
Yeah.
different results.
Yeah, well, when you were bringing up, like, your dad would say, look at your mom and your stepmom, and, like, the bigger picture. It reminded me when my husband and I were in very, very beginning of recovery, like, first time we went, I remember being like, oh, I'm just here to support him, like,
Sure.
this is his crap, not mine. And it took me months, like, it maybe more than that, maybe like a year or so, that finally, like, hit me in the head. It was like, you have just as much crap.
Sure.
You have just as much to work through as he does. It looks different. Just how our talents and our strengths, our superpowers or whatever are so unique and different, so are our, you know, our addictions, our trials, everything. Mine just looked really different, and it wasn't directly hurting my family as obvious, but it was still my behaviors. You know, I didn't have a good perspective or opinion of men. They scared me. I didn't like them. I always got into a bad relationship, and it took me a really long time to completely rewire that. And sometimes I still, like, when I don't know somebody, like especially men, I'm a little more standoffish until I get comfortable and, like, get to know them and stuff. But it took me a long time to be like, no, not all men are like that.
Sure.
I don't want to just group them like that, you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting how, like,
Yeah.
we have, even though we're not the ones with the addiction,
Right.
we have just as much crap to work through. I mean, I know for me, I do.
It comes in the word he said, ego.
Exactly.
We all have our ego, and our ego takes over, and we think we stand on a higher pedestal
Well, at least
than the
mine
next
doesn't
person.
look like that.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I'm living in a car. At least I don't sleep on the street.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? I mean, yeah.
Seriously.
They're gonna repo it any day now, but
But but I still have a roof over my head, right?
But yeah, that hit. So number one, like, I'm a firm believer. I don't care who you are. Every single person on this planet is recovering from something.
Yeah.
There's nobody on this planet that didn't go through some kind of trauma. There's nobody on this planet that doesn't have some kind of issue that they're dealing with that they can't overcome on their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're all recovering from something. And I think everybody can use some kind of recovery program.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
if there's a lot of people that have a lot of stigma towards the steps. I'm a 12-stepper. I think if there were people that were less judgmental, because there's people in the program that are judgmental, right? And I think if it was more open and more inclusive, every single person on this planet could benefit from working those steps and having that spiritual principle.
We've actually had quite a few guests on the show that said they think that should be a requirement in school.
Yeah.
For sure. I believe
Oh,
so.
I
Yeah.
agree
Yeah,
100%.
I believe so.
Because and a friend of mine who actually did our wall for us, Shane Buckley, and he has a podcast as well, but gosh, now where was I going? Oh, we was just talking about, he's like, his belief is, he goes, I believe the 12 steps was written by God.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
that's
I
his
believe that
belief.
too.
And I started thinking about it and a lot of the stuff that my wife has shared with me, and I'm going, well, I guess it could be, because unless the guys that wrote it sat down and was doing, like the Beatles said, they wrote some of their best songs when they were on LSD.
Sure.
I mean, where did they come up with this?
Yeah.
Where did it come from? And of course, the Bible's been around for a long time. Maybe they pulled some of the stuff out of the Bible.
The guy that wrote the big book, he adamantly says that he didn't write the big book. It was divine intervention coming through, and I believe that a lot of it. The one thing that I will say, and the reason why a lot of people don't like the steps is because a lot of the programs that are around the steps are exclusive. So if you, like, Utah's not so bad, but like in Nevada, if you go in an AA meeting and you share about using drugs, they'll kick you out.
Wow.
And if you go into an NA meeting and you say, well, I can still drink alcohol, fine, alcohol is not my problem. Like, because there's people legitimately that can quit smoking meth, but they can have 2 or 3 beers, and that's just fine. It works for them, right?
We had dinner with friend's Tuesday night in St. George was that way. She was, heroin user.
But if that person goes into a narcotics, and I'm sorry, people might get mad at me for saying this, but if that person goes into a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, they will not give them a chip and say you're not clean.
Yeah, because it has to be clean from everything.
Drug, period.
Right?
And I kind of disagree with that because I can drink coffee fine, but there's some people that can't drink coffee, right? And I know I can't drink alcohol. I know I can't smoke meth. I know I can't smoke pot. But I know people that can. You know what I mean? I don't know anyone who can do meth, but but I know people that can drink just fine, and I know people who can smoke pot just fine. But they don't do heroin anymore, and that looks way better than when they were doing heroin. So why poke the bear? You know what I mean? And so one thing I like about the Wellbriety program, which is the program that your wife likes, is it's 12 steps. They have a different bit of a twist. It's Native American. It's all put in a circle on the medicine wheel, and but even though it says alcohol in the steps in the book, it says any kind of addiction. So it's not exclusive. It's whatever you're suffering from, you can work the steps on it.
Whatever the drug of choice is, whether it's gambling, sex, drugs, alcohol,
because
phone.
Exactly.
For me, like I suffer from addiction, right? I'm a sex addict. I'm a grateful recovering one. I haven't had to act out in a long time. I'm a meth addict, Adderall addict, cocaine addict, alcohol addict. But I'm not a heroin addict. If I go get surgery right now, I can take opioids and be just fine. I can take them just as the prescription says and be just fine. You know what I mean? And I know that about myself. For some reason, I just don't like that. And
well, and you know where your boundaries are.
Yeah. But if I got prescribed ADD and they said, here's some Adderall, I'd be like, heck no, you don't want to do that.
Keep that stuff away.
Yeah. I'd rather be ADD.
No kidding. Wow. Hey guys, we're going to stop for a quick commercial break, and then let's come back and dive a little bit deeper into this. I really liked where the first part of the show was going. Really cool stuff. And I like how you was just saying that, you were this, you were that, you were this, but you're not that. We literally, and Brad's in the studio here working the cameras, but we discussed this yesterday on the way home from St. George yesterday. My wife brought it up because one of the gals that we're doing our talk with, like I said, was a heroin user and, shot a lot of stuff up. But she goes, I can sit down and I can have beer. And we did when we sat down for dinner Tuesday night. She had a drink, and she goes, I'm okay with it because I know I am safe. Just because I have one doesn't mean now I'm going to go home or run to the liquor store after this and I'm going to pound a fifth away. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Hey guys, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Cool.
Do you or a loved one or someone you know struggle with addiction?
Have you lost hope, or are you struggling to make connections?
Have you been to other treatment programs and have yet to reach your full potential?
We are Matter Behavioral Health. At Matter Behavioral Health, we understand substance abuse treatment works best when the client is taught ways of identifying for themselves their own dysfunctional views of their life that trigger their self-limiting beliefs and leads back to addiction.
We help you get to the core of what's causing your addiction.
We offer inpatient and outpatient services. To find out what's best for you, call us at 435-462-2781. That's 435-462-2781.
Don't wait, give us a call. Your life depends on it. Call us at 435-462-2781.
Have you ever been in a car accident? Do you know what to do after being in a car accident? Are the insurance companies going to take care of you? Hi, I'm attorney Rick Heaton with the Law Office of Bobby Udall. I will help you through the process and answer all of these questions. I give every single client my cell phone so they can talk to me whenever they need. Let me deal with the insurance company so you can focus on getting better from your injuries. Call me at 385-330-0226. Again, my cell phone number, 385-330-0226. Don't call the insurance company first. call attorney Rick Heaton at 385-330-0226.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the other side of addiction with me, Al, and our lovely Janessa, who I love having here in the studio with us. She comes up with some really, really good questions, and it's always good to see her. So,
I love it.
And again, we want to say thank you to our platinum sponsor, Matter Behavioral, out of Mount Pleasant. Guys, again, if you're looking for a different type of recovery center, we highly recommend getting a hold of them. Give them a call at 435-462-2781. Whoever answers the phone, they'll be more than happy to answer all your questions and help you in any way possible. What's also cool about a lot of these people that we work with here on the show, if they realize that they're not a fit, they have somebody that can help you out. So again, guys, thank you for everything. And gosh, the first part of the show with Ashton, it was great. I love your story. I love your enthusiasm, your attitude.
Thank you.
Yeah, my wife told me you had an infectious laugh, and I can definitely see why she says that. So yeah, but thank you for even stepping up to the plate and sharing all the stuff that you have shared, because we know it's not easy for everybody that comes in on this show to be vulnerable and talk about where life has taken them. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
One thing here right before we ended was, I like how you said that in certain states, which this is the first I've heard of this, I had no clue that you're not allowed to say different things. Say that you're a meth user or you're an alcoholic. I had no clue. I thought you could go in there and say whatever it was that you needed to say.
Sure.
But also how some people say that you've got to stop, if you're an alcoholic, you have to stop all mind-altering drugs. But then you brought up, well, after a meeting, they go out and they have a cigarette.
Yeah, for sure.
Or they have a cup of coffee. And now, that I know, I've seen in a lot of AA meetings that I've gone to with my wife.
Yeah, it's coffee everywhere.
They drink coffee like it's going out of style. Yeah. Now, for me, I love coffee myself.
Sure.
But I shut myself off at noon.
Yeah.
No coffee afternoon, because I know if I do that,
you're not going to sleep.
I'm not going to sleep.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that you brought that up, because it's not that way for everyone. Like my friend Mal, who was a meth user and heroin user, she's okay. She can sit down and have a couple drinks.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother her. She's fine.
For sure. Yeah, my uncle's like that. He quit doing the hard stuff and he can have a couple beers and he's just fine. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, one thing I kind of am aware of is, like I mentioned, these different organizations like AA and NA and stuff. I don't have any problems with AA or NA.
Yeah.
I'm a member of both fellowships, and I do a lot of things with them, and they've saved my life. There's just certain things I disagree with, and I think it's okay to disagree with things. Like I disagree with a lot of things and a lot of different things. It doesn't mean I have a problem with it. It's just there's certain things that I
what works for
in.
you.
Yeah, and
Well, it goes back to even like when we were talking at the first part of the show, religion.
Yeah.
Because there are things in our religion, I think Janessa and I, same religion, that I really agree with, and there's others that
Sure.
I struggle with it. Yeah, I really do struggle with it.
Sure.
And people may have a problem with me because of it, and that's okay if that's how they want to see it, but this is what fits me. If I wear a size 32 pant,
sure,
and I'm like, here, I'm going to give you these pants. I mean,
yeah, it's not going to fit.
They're not going to fit. So why should I force you? No, just keep doing it.
Sure.
Come on, just pull them up. They'll fit.
Yeah, they'll fit.
Basically, I think it's the same thing with this other stuff.
And then you also have the thing where it's like, here's these size 32 pants. Oh, they don't fit you, but there's something wrong with you. You need to lose some weight.
Yeah, exactly. That's another way of putting it. Yeah.
I saw a meme. This was a long time ago, and I think it was like, I can't remember exactly what it was for. But it had a tree, and it had an instructor, and it had like a monkey, an elephant, a dog, a cheetah, a bird, and they're like, okay, at first one to the top of the tree gets an A. And, you got the elephant like, what the heck? And the monkey and the bird are going straight up. They're like, yeah. And it's like, not everyone is fit to do that or should, how do you expect a dog or an elephant or even, to do that? So I like, it's how everybody is so unique and different. Sure. You can't expect them to all climb a tree.
That's well put. Yeah, I like that.
Well, and I think we're starting to learn, like, as a society in America, that's true, that everybody's got a different path. Some of them similar, but we all have our own different way of flourishing. And I think back in the day, like, I currently go to college, right? And the class I'm taking now is like American history from 1945 till the present, right? And I think back in the day, our society was very cookie cutter. Mm-hmm. Like, you had to do this, you had to be this way, you had to have 5 kids in a house on the prairie, and
white picket fence.
And like, you had to be a certain way. But now we're starting to get into this new era where, like, we can be free, we can be who we want, and I think it's beautiful, and I think it's cool, and we're seeing the same trend in recovery. I work for an organization called USARA. Mm-hmm. If you're not familiar with what USARA is, USARA stands for Utah Support Advocates for Recovery Awareness, and a lot of what we do is kind of stigma stomping. We break the stigma. We have people that go and advocate, like, at the drug court. We have people that go and advocate at the level of, like, state government and stuff like that. And a lot of changes come from that. And our organization fully believes in all pathways, right? So, like, if I have a participant that thinks they can drink but they know they can't do meth, that's cool. That's cool. And even if I feel like they probably shouldn't drink, I won't tell them. I'll let them find out for themselves. Like, and that's because that was for me. Like, everybody told me that I shouldn't be drinking and that I shouldn't be drugging, but I had to find that out for myself. Like, one thing about most people that suffer from addiction is we're very stubborn people. So, like, if you tell, I'll show you I can't drink, I'm going to go get a 30-pack right now and show you how to drink.
Exactly.
And with you saying that, so we've had people on the show that talks about, especially with alcohol, how it was seen as something, especially with the guys, like something macho. Sure. You can't handle your liquor? Oh, come on. And I was laying on the couch, I don't know, over the weekend, and my wife was taking a nap, and I was flipping through the channels, and there's a station called Grit, and they show a lot of old westerns. And now I grew up on cowboy movies. Mm-hmm. I love cowboy movies. Sure. And I clicked on, and it was this, one of the main actors was the guy that played Gunsmoke. I don't remember what his real name is, but anyway, he's talking to this guy that, is in the Army. And they ended up talking about drinking, and his buddy looks at him and he goes, I will drink you under the table any day. And all these flashbacks of our podcast start popping up, of how people have said that. And I'm like, yeah, really, that's how society looks at it, that, you can't hold your liquor, well, you're a puss. You know, come on, I'll drink your ass under the table. And I've had women even tell me that.
Yeah, my ex-wife told me that all the time.
When I've been back in my days where I've been at parties, and I've had women come up and go, how many beers have you had? You know, it's like, I don't know, 18. It's like, I've had 22. What the hell's wrong with you? You look like you're already wasted. It's like, I'll show you. Next thing you know, you're, you know, but yeah, it's crazy how, and again, I think society is starting to change just a little bit, and I think it's through,
now,
like USARA, Matter Behavioral, the Other Side Academy, all the other even different addiction podcasts that are out there. I think we're finally starting to spread a little bit of the fire to get people to open their eyes.
Well, and what is that? The thing that strikes me too is, what does that say about our society, where you're measured by how much poison you can drink? Because alcohol is a poison. It's
that's why so many people die from it.
It's a poison. That's why you get drunk. It's your body reacting to poison. And so what is going on in our society where we feel like we have to poison ourselves to feel right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or to even have a good time.
Yeah.
I mean, I know people that it's like, hey, let's go to dinner. All right, where? And you'll mention the name. It's like, do they serve alcohol there?
Right?
You know, it's like the next thing that comes out of their mouth. It's like they can't go to dinner and have a good time unless they can sit down and have 3 or 4 drinks.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, the best times I've ever had in my life were in recovery. Sober, not having to worry about, do I have enough beer for this trip, or do I have, like, I remember camping now. Back in the day, I just...
I don't remember.
Yeah, there was a lot of beer there.
That's all I remember.
How come I'm waking up in a fire pit?
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
We got all these scrapes and stuff.
Yeah.
And, I mean, like now I can actually enjoy life. Like, I went to a treatment center the other day and was talking to one of my people I work with, and one of the ladies there was like looking at the trees, and they're like, the trees are green. And to a normal person, there's, what the heck are they talking about? But to someone that suffers from addiction, that's a thing. I didn't even know there were trees. I was like, okay, my drugs are over there. I'm gonna go get them. There's all this stuff around me. I don't know what's going on around. I don't care what's going on around me. I'm gonna go get them.
Life is passing you by.
Yeah. And now, like, whoa, there's a whole beautiful world out there. And like you mentioned, nature. To me, nature is a very powerful part of my recovery and a very powerful part of my spirituality. And the reason I believe that is because I believe that and you're going to hear me talk a lot about my higher power, because I'm a very solution-based person, and the solution to my addiction 100% is a power greater than myself. Now, for me, that's God. For other people, it's a group. For other people, it's a doorknob, and that works. For other people, it's the sun. Whatever works, you know what I mean? And I believe that when I'm in nature, I am hanging out with everything that my higher power created, right? At its purest form. Yeah. Nothing's been chopped down. Nothing's been altered. Up, nothing. Yeah. It's perfect, and all his energy is right there in that. So, like, I'm in, like, a magnifying glass, and my higher power is right there, and I'm like, oh, dude. Yeah, right? And I can feel it. Like, my most powerful meditation's ever been in nature, and I can feel it. And now that I have been practicing Native American ways and stuff like that, that's what we believe, is that our higher power, it works through everything. He puts his spirit in everything, and it all has lessons for us. So, like, the trees have certain lessons, the eagle has certain lessons, the deer, the birds, the buffalo, the moose, all have different lessons they're trying to teach us. Now, when I'm not paying attention to that. And that's a good metaphor for life too, because, like, even people I come in contact with, they've got all these things I want to listen to, you know. But if that ego is huge, then I'm just gonna push the lesson away, and I'm not gonna learn that lesson I need to learn.
That's what I admire, and always admired about Native Americans, is they see the whole. You know, I mean, they really do. They appreciate everything that was there in front of them, whether it was the animals or the moon or the sky or the stars or the sagebrush, whatever it may be. And I think that is so flippin' cool, that when you can really open your eyes and start seeing life that way. I do some acting and stuff a little bit on the side, and it was downtown, at a restaurant upstairs, and we were doing this restaurant scene, and I got put at a table with some younger kids. And when they were doing camera moves and things, that's kind of your time to sit and shoot the crap with everybody. And I don't remember what subject we were talking about, but this kid goes, "Man, Al, you're like full of like philosophy stuff," and it's like, my gosh, I could learn a lot from you. And I'm like, well, thank you for saying that, but I can learn from you too. And he's like, yeah, you probably got like what, 35, 40 years on me. What could you learn from me? And I'm like, I don't know, but there's probably something.
Sure.
And he's like, see, there it is again. But you're right, because there are so many people that it's like, what the hell can you teach me?
Yeah.
I've already been on this for 60 years. You don't know shit. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so there's a cool Buddhist parable. There's you might have heard it before. There's a professor at a really prestigious school, Ivy League school, and he found this Buddhist monk that he wanted to interview and learn from. And he sent a letter, and the Buddhist monk agreed and said, yeah, come to my house. And so the professor went there, right? And they sat down at the table, and the monk started explaining Buddhism to the professor. And the professor tried to look at it from a research or like an academic standpoint, and he was challenging all these things, and he was throwing out all his knowledge. And the monk finally said, okay, this isn't working. Let's stop talking about it. And the professor got a little frustrated, and the monk said, do you like tea? And the professor was like, yeah, I love tea. So the monk went and started making tea, right? He comes out, puts a glass down in front of the professor and pours. And as it fills, it starts to overflow. And it's like getting everywhere. And the professor's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You can't fill something that's already full. You've got to empty your mind before you try to learn stuff.
Wow.
And that's what I found, like in active addiction. I thought I knew everything. You can't tell me anything, right?
Yeah.
But now in recovery, I go into everything with an empty mind, and I learn. The newcomer, the new person that's got one day clean teaches me more than some people that have 30 years. And that's because I need to remember where I was, right? And I need to remember that it's not good out there. Because the farther I get away from my last drug, the easier it is for me to forget how terrible it was. You know what I mean? But when I start to see that person, and that's why AA and NA and all these 12-step groups where we meet every day or a couple times a week, any kind of support group like that, that's why they work so good, is because you got people from all different stages of recovery coming together, right? And we all need each other. And that kind of going back to the native ways, like, we believe that everything's interconnected. We're all related, right? So, like, sometimes we'll think, oh, I did this, it didn't affect anyone. It did affect someone.
Oh, yeah.
Every time it affects someone. And so, like, when that newcomer comes in and they're like, I don't know how what I'm sharing is going to be of value. I promise you, if there's any newcomers listening, it is of value, because you're helping me remember what it was like for me, and you're helping me remember how beautiful this life I live now is. And you're also giving me the opportunity to help, and that's the blood behind recovery. That's what keeps us flowing. And another thing I want to mention, because I kept forgetting about it in the first part, is when we were talking about like that ego and that kind of like judgy thing, the most powerful lesson I learned through working the 12 steps is, in active addiction, it was your fault. The reason I use is your fault. All this trauma and stuff, and like I talked about how I went through a lot of trauma, and I would blame my trauma on my trauma, right? But here's the thing. Everybody goes through trauma. There's one thing that we have in common, is everybody's gone through something crazy. Yeah. And so when I took the 5th step and I read it with my sponsor, I realized something. There's a common denominator in all my problems. It's me. It's me. I have something to do with all of my problems. And there's a powerful thing in that, because if I blame all my problems on you, I can never find the solution to your problems. But if I realize that I am at the root of my problems, I can find a solution to my problems.
That's really
And
good.
it's super powerful. It's
Yeah,
kind of
it
like
is.
the well-variety, we call it reclaiming our power. And it's painful at first, but once we do reclaim it, then we can do something about it.
Well, that's
but-
where real progress
yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
You know, and it happens on our side as well. You know, you even mentioned it earlier, Janessa, because it really does. I mean, I blamed everything on my wife, you know, and then I talk about it when I do my talks. You know, I finally decided to fast because I felt like I wasn't getting the answers that I was looking for by praying.
Sure.
And after I did the fasting, and the word forgiveness just kept coming up, forgiveness. And for me, I'm like, Father, if you're asking me to forgive my wife, oh, heck no. She's the reason why I'm where I'm at right now. She's the reason why I thought about committing suicide. She's the reason for this. And that word just kept coming up, kept coming up, kept coming up. And I finally realized it wasn't her that I needed to forgive. It was me that I needed to forgive.
Sure.
Once I started working on me and go, okay, I'm tired of walking down this same path. I got to find a different road to go down. Once I started getting myself there, that's when I started noticing the change in my wife. She started seeing the change in me.
Sure.
And it's almost kind of like we were on this path like this, and then eventually it just led back into the one, and here we are, you know, side by side again. And
that's cool.
Yeah, it's crazy, but you have to, for both sides, I think we really have to look at ourselves of you know what's happening around us.
Well, I love what you said, that you know, taking that responsibility, realizing it's you and not them, or reclaiming your power is painful at first. But I'm like, isn't the other way painful too? You're just more used to it.
Yeah.
So if you take the responsibility and the power, then you're able to, I don't know, it is painful in the beginning because it's different.
Sure.
But once you get out of that, it's like, I don't know, so much more relieving and peaceful. And that's something I've learned, is even when you're going through really rough stuff, you can still feel peace because you're going down the right.
Right.
You're not blaming, you're
For
taking the responsibility.
Acceptance.
You can feel that peace even among all the chaos, you know.
Well, yeah, and it's like easy way for me to look at it is like, okay, take two people. Okay, they both got stabbed in the leg, right? And that sucks, but
Yeah, it would.
but check it out. So the first person is like, I'm good. It's not my fault I got stabbed. I'm not going to go to the hospital. I'm just going to ride it out, right? It festers. It hurts, right? It hurts really bad. It hurts really bad for that wound to fester. Now check out the person that got stabbed and then go to the hospital. It hurts really bad to get surgery on your muscles. It hurts really bad to get stitches. It hurts really bad to get the stitches pulled out. But they heal. The other one doesn't. Both of them hurt. But growth pains are good.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've learned in my spiritual path is, I always used to think that, so one thing I'm really grateful for the natives that they've taught me is that, and so like Western society, we like to look at things as like good and bad, right? That's called dualism, duality, right? There's good and there's bad, right? Good and evil, whatever. Before white people came to America, natives never believed that. Everything was good. There was always a purpose behind everything. And there's more than two perspectives. There's anywhere from 3 to 12. Like, there's a bunch of different perspectives on something. And I used to always think in active addiction, these bad things are happening to me. It's so bad, right? And I was pushing my teacher away because all these struggles that I go through are teaching me something.
Yeah.
There's a lesson behind it. If I can look at it that way, yeah, it's uncomfortable. Growing's uncomfortable. When I was a kid and I was growing, they don't call it growth pains for nothing.
Yeah, true.
And
it's like falling out of a tree, right?
Yeah, right? And so all these things that seem like they're bad, they're teaching me something. They're pushing me in a certain direction. And when I'm connected with that power greater than myself, I can kind of see that direction, and I can know that something good's coming from this, right? And that's where real growth happens, and that's where real change happens. And that's why I could never grow and never change while I was in my active addiction, because I was always trying to escape the growth. Right? The pain, these what we call defects of character, those were taking me away from like the lesson. It's like freaking, okay, here's what you need to do. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
It's like leaving the knife in your leg, right? Instead of pulling it out, you just leave it in there.
It's not my fault.
Yeah, it's not my fault, but damn, it hurts all the time.
Yeah.
Why?
Right.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Now,
and that's another thing. So like, it can be really easy to confuse, and I would like to clear this up real quick.
yes, please, yeah.
Sometimes when we start to talk about this, people that have gone through severe trauma can start to think that it's their fault that they went through the trauma.
Yeah.
And that's not what I'm saying. It's not my fault that I went through all that trauma. What's my fault is how I dealt with that trauma.
Yeah. Well, it's
If
like
I
the
wanna
knife
take the
analogy.
victim stance,
Exactly.
then life's gonna suck. I'm always gonna be the victim. But if I want to take my power and say, okay, I went through this trauma, it made me stronger. I'm stronger now as a result of it, and I can help other people that are going through it because I've walked through the same storm they're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a healthy way to deal with it. The victim stance is not. That's where it's my fault.
I love
It's
that.
not my fault that the trauma happened to me. It's my responsibility how I deal with it.
How you live in that trauma.
For sure.
You got stabbed in the leg. What are you going to do about it?
Yep.
It's not your
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
And I don't know for sure if this is, even if it's the right way of looking at it, but for me, from what I've been learning and seeing, it's like that's why I think some make it through like the recovery, even though recovery is an everyday process probably for the rest of your life, but you have chosen a different path and to use that trauma for something good, where others get so stuck in it and they don't know how to climb their way out. Even if they do have a support system,
Sure.
they're not opening up to that support system, because again, it's like it won't work because look at my life. I don't know if those are the ones that like end up that they're no longer here, because we've had quite a few people on the show that say a lot of people that I hung around with and drank and drugged with, they're no longer here. But here I am. We had a gal on our show that she even felt like survivor remorse
Yeah,
for
a lot
a
of
while,
people do
because she's
survivor
like,
guilt.
everybody I partied with, they're dead.
Sure.
I'm the only one that's alive. Now she's using what she went through to help other people, but she's like, why is it I did the same thing they did, why did I make it and they didn't?
Sure.
You know, so it's a tough one. Now with the Native Americans, where I was going to go is when they do the sweat lodge stuff, and I may be wrong on this, so correct me, isn't that so you can go deeper inside yourself? Isn't that what the
part of it,
sweat
yeah.
lodge is for, to kind of see?
Part of it, yeah.
Like on Young Guns when they do the peyote, it's kind of like, you know, focus on me, right?
That's part of it. Yeah, it's a cleansing too. A lot of cleansing, just getting rid of that less useful
Purifying.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's all prayer. It's all the whole time. It's a prayer. Yeah, it's just like connecting with our higher power and growing and letting go of all these less useful things and receiving all these more useful things. And
So that's like even like where the
Super cool.
meditation even
Yeah.
helps. Because for years, one of my morning routines was I get up, I say my prayers, I go to my journal and I write down things that I was grateful for from the day before.
yeah,
And I've been doing it for years. And then I write down blessings that I want to see happen throughout the day, or just, I've done it for so long. Here about probably a month and a half, 2 months ago, I'm like, you know what, I'm done with this journal stuff. It's just, I've been doing it for so long. I mean, I got boxes full of journals from writing almost kind of like the same stuff over and over.
yeah.
So now I'm slowly working myself to where, you know, I think I'm around 7 minutes now, where as soon as I get done saying my prayers, I take my breathing and then I start doing like this meditating, and I start visualizing where I want things to go in my
That's so
life,
cool.
because I'm feeling as though if I can picture it, the universe is going to help bring more of that in,
Yep.
you know, and
Law of
of course
attraction.
they even say that, you know, when you pray to God and ask for something, you have to believe that you've already received
Yeah,
it. So
for sure.
I'm starting this whole new thing
It's cool.
on it to hopefully take a next step into my life, because in a way I've been jealous of people who have battled addiction,
Yeah.
And the reason why, and you brought this up earlier, is that light bulb goes off, you get life.
Mm-hmm.
You start seeing so many things that you did not see before. Someone like myself, I've gotten so caught up with financial issues or this or that, or you know,
Sure.
it's almost like I'm addicted to that.
Yeah.
And I'm missing
Yep.
all this life and all these blessings around me,
Sure.
because blessings are happening to us
Every minute.
every single day. I was at a class once, and a person that was talking, he goes, how many people here, let's say you was coming to this class, and you got a flat tire, it's going to cause you to be late. How many people in this room would be pissed off as hell because you got a flat tire? And I would say probably the majority of the room raised their hand. And he goes, now I want you to look at this in a different way. You're coming in here, you're already running late, you get a flat tire, you're all pissed off because you got this flat tire. But did you ever think maybe you got that flat tire, or after you get your tire fixed, you go down the road and there's an accident?
Crash. Yep.
Do you realize that flat tire could have just
Saved
saved
your
you for being in that accident?
Sure.
So he was trying to get the class to look at things in a different way,
Sure.
not taking it to where this is my trauma.
Yeah.
Today, you went through that for a reason, right?
Sure.
You went.
I
Reminds
needed
me of the attitude that Chris shared when he was on about his looking at everything positive,
Yeah.
and how the guy, one of his mentors, was in the middle of nowhere. I think it was in Nevada somewhere.
Yeah. So it was Steve Hardison.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a flat tire in his Porsche. Is that the one that you're talking about?
And
yeah.
then he was like, awesome, I get to meet new people, and
Yeah.
and everyone's like, this
Right.
sucks. Like, you're
Yeah.
miles away.
Yeah.
It's super hot outside. You have to ride in this truck, with this guy you don't even know, and he's like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And they asked him after, they're like, did that just, like, how long did it take you to get there? And he's like, well, I've been practicing for years and years and years.
Sure.
And I think that's exactly, like, what we're, like, as addicts and those who are recovering right along with them.
Yeah.
Is we have to totally rewire that into thinking more positively. And it's so hard, because I still, like, when something happens, I'm like, dang it, and I get mad,
Right.
and then I have to sit back and be like, okay, maybe there's a reason. Like you said,
Yeah,
there's a car accident down there I don't know about, or there's something I can learn from this. But
Well, and with you saying that, I was preparing myself for when we went down to St. George. I'm like, what if we don't get the reception that I'm really hoping for? I need to prepare myself and think, okay, there's still something behind this. There's still a reason behind this. And I was preparing now, luckily, everything went better than what we expected.
Yeah.
But I was already starting to prepare myself, going, okay, if we don't get the reception that I'm hoping we're going to get, what can I take from it? What positive did come out of this? Mm-hmm. I used to tell my brother when we'd go look at a concrete job to go bid on it, sometimes we'd go look at it and we're like, my brother would jump in the truck and go, well, that was a effing waste of time. He loves the F word. That was an effing waste of time. And I'm like, it's never a waste of time.
Sure.
It's never, ever a waste of time, because maybe that guy can't use our services or we can't do what he needs to do, but I felt that we were pleasant enough to him that he may refer us to somebody.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah.
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 And I mean, that reminds me, because like a lot of times society will look at like how low we go in our addiction as like a disadvantage. To me, I find that to be an advantage, because a lot of people in everyday life never feel the need to turn to spirituality, never feel the need to turn to some kind of way to help themselves develop in a way other than society molds us to do economically. You know what I mean? And we are blessed with this thing that we've had, most of us, since we were born, that's pushing us right into our higher power's hands. Like, he's just waiting. He's like, yep, you're
keep
coming.
Yeah,
You're
keep
coming.
Yeah.
And that's a thing too that I've explained to people, as like I'm going to school to be a pastor, right? So people look at me as like a spiritual leader, and I speak to people. I don't believe, a lot of Christians might say, oh, you're blasphemous. I don't care. Cool. Have fun. And, and I don't believe that Satan is this evil person, because if you look at the theology behind that, he was always trying to force people to believe in God. His whole goal was to get people to believe in God, but he was trying to force them to do that, and God didn't like that, so he got kicked out of heaven. That's like what I believe is a parable behind it, right? And so I believe that, and this is a Native American thing too, I believe that he's a trickster. The Native Americans believe the coyote's a trickster, right? And I believe that he's a trickster, and every single trick he puts us through is to push us closer and closer to God. Because every single thing that I perceived as bad in my active addiction, every single thing I perceived as evil, pushed me right into recovery. Like, this one guy came up to me and he's like, Ashton, if you never smoked all that meth and you never stole all that stuff, you never sold all that drugs, you never hurt all those people, you wouldn't be able to be right here, right now, helping people, becoming a pastor and doing all these beautiful things. Yeah. So all that stuff happened for a reason.
I agree.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's really awesome.
I agree. Well, guys, we're going to stop for another quick break, and then we'll be right back to wrap this thing up.
Good morning, this is Leticia with Computer Hospital. We are your computer repair experts for both PC and Mac. We are your community resource for all of your computer repair needs. What makes us different is that we want to fix your computer. We also do free diagnostics. We charge a flat rate labor, which means that you won't pay by the hour. All of our computer repair is done in-house with a fast turnaround time, and same-day service is also available. Feel free to stop by anytime without an appointment. We're located in Sandy at 8721 South State Street. Again, that's 8721 South State Street. Or call us at 801-987-3993. Again, that's 801-987-3993. This is Leticia with Computer Hospital, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Hello there, this is Brad Neufeld with the Resilience Talk Network, and I would like to introduce to you Taffy Town, one of our newest sponsors. Let me introduce you to Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek from Taffy Town. We're proud sponsors of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Taffy Town is a family-owned and operated business still operating in the Salt Lake City area for over 100 years. We manufacture some of America's best saltwater taffy.
What makes Taffy Town stand out from all of the others?
We have a unique recipe, a whipped-style recipe that incorporates egg whites, evaporated milk, real sea salt. It's a unique product that is flavorful, melts in your mouth, and the best part is we probably have a flavor for anyone's liking, a flavor for any reason, for any season. We have unique flavors like chicken and waffles, maple bacon, frosted cupcake. New this year was a pineapple ghost pepper flavor.
That's awesome. Where can people find out more about Taffy Town and all of its products?
You can check all of this stuff out. All of our products are available for sale on taffytown.com. We ship for free from our website, so all of our pricing on there is shipping included. Oftentimes we offer special promotions and discounts to our loyal customers, so do be sure to sign up for an account, and we look forward to seeing what we can do to make you smile with our taffy.
Where are you located?
We are currently located at 9813 South Prosperity Road in West Jordan, Utah, just at the foothills of the Copper Canyon mine.
Derek, taffy has always been a great gift to give. What are some of the creative ways Taffy Town can help say thank you to others?
Yeah, if you're looking for gift ideas, whether to say thank you to friends or family, or maybe to your clients after such a difficult or successful year that you've had, you could look no further than to get a gift idea from taffytown.com. We offer pre-packaged gift boxes that say that it's saltwater taffy from the city of the Great Salt Lake, and it tells a little bit about the history of our community and making candy for so long. You can also do customized gifts to pick out just the right flavors or colors of candy for that special someone and deliver even a personalized message in that box to them. So please feel free to check out taffytown.com for any gift ideas this season.
Thank you so much, Derek. Please visit taffytown.com. That's taffytown.com to find out more about the products and services that Taffytown offers. You won't be disappointed.
Do you know someone who's gambling with death due to an addiction? Do you know someone whose life is being turned upside down due to a loved one that's battling with addiction? Hi, I'm Al Richards. I am the host of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I started the podcast due to my wife's battle with alcohol. Let's just say I became addicted to her addiction. Our podcast is helping people understand a little more about those who have battled addiction and those who are hurting from their addiction. Through raw vulnerability, we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction. Shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing paths of recovery. We collaborate with real people and their stories, as well as licensed professionals, to help our audience gain a better understanding of addiction. You can find us on Resilience Talk Network. You can also find us on Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. That's Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look up the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to this episode of The Other Side of Addiction. Again, thank you to our platinum sponsor, Matter Behavioral Health, out of Mount Pleasant, 435-462-2781. Also want to take this time to make sure that we thank all our other sponsors. We've got a plethora of sponsors that has come in. They believe in what we're doing here. We also want to say thank you to all our listeners. Thank you so much, guys, for helping us spread the word. And by speaking of spreading the word, please, every time you guys watch an episode, please share an episode with just one friend. That's all we're asking. Just share it with one friend. Ask them to subscribe, please. And also give us a like, because we have just found out here that if you give us the thumbs up, it really, really helps us as well. So, guys, yeah, we have a lot of followers, and we're doing our best to do some different things to make our shows even better. But again, we wouldn't even be as far as we are right now if it wasn't for all you guys. So thank you so much for everything and for all your support. Thank you to all our guest co-hosts that we have had come on the show. My gosh, I just love having people come in and do this show with me. And again, thank you to all our incredible guests that have come in. And we was talking about that just in St. George just the other day, that I met a new guy by the name of Will, and we was talking, and just I look at him as a friend already. He's just an incredible guy, and he gets into a lot of the Native American spiritual stuff as well that I found out. But
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's just we're just grateful for everybody, and just appreciate all the people that we have and come on. So, Ashton, my gosh, I loved your story. I've really enjoyed having you here with us today. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm glad we were able to kind of work it out. It was a little bit of a struggle there for a bit because of work conflict and schedules, but yeah, I'm really glad that you was able to make it here, and I'm grateful for my wife too, because the first day that she came home from the first time she went to your event, she came home and she goes, "You need to call this guy. He needs to be on your show." I'm like, okay. So here you are. Right. Tell our listeners a little bit about your classes and a little bit more about what you do and how they can find you if they're interested.
Sure. Yeah. So the one that he's talking about, it's called Wellbriety. It's a Native American approach to recovery, and the 12 steps, they're worded differently, and in my opinion, in a way that's a little easier for me to understand.
Okay.
And the group is at noon every Friday at USARA, and that USARA, if you don't know where that is 21st South, 2100 South, and 180 East. And yeah, everyone's welcome, no matter what you're addicted to. And then I'm also going to school to be a pastor, as you've heard, and I preach a lot, so I'll be preaching on the 12th and on the 19th, and then on the 3rd too.
Okay.
The one on the 3rd's in Salt Lake at First Congregational Church, if you want to check it out. And then the other two are in Provo at Provo Community Congregational Church. So yeah, it's cool, and I really enjoy doing it, and the main reason I do it is to help people. And back to that sobriety thing though, I've found so many people that like couldn't get it in another way that just got it there, because it's really practical and really easy to understand and to follow, and it kind of helps us to understand a lot of the underlying reasons behind why we did things. So
I think that's one of the reasons, Ashton, why my wife also liked, and I said one of the reasons why she liked your class is because I think it really helped her understand some things, because you know, we all learn in different ways too. You know, there's some people that can read a book and they get it, and you know, I could read a book 50 times and still not understand something, but if I can do it, let my hands touch it and feel it, and I can see it, then I learn much quicker. So it's really cool that you've taken it in a way for you to understand, because I'm sure there's other people out there that have been in that same boat where they're just not getting it, and now you're giving them another resource of, hey, this is what helped me, maybe it might help you as well. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it sounds like throughout this whole interview that you've really opened your mind up, and you're not seeing things with the blinders on. You know, you're also coming up with other things, going, oh my gosh, well, this didn't work for me, how can I make it work for me? And I'm sure there's other people out there doing the same thing, you know, scratching their heads going, I don't know what to do.
Your point of view and perspective is very refreshing.
Yeah.
It's new. It's not. It's a lot of things that I'm like, wow, I've never heard of that before. But it makes sense, and it's simple but profound. Like, it's been really impactful. So, thank you.
And my pleasure. And it kind of reminds me, I don't know, I feel like I want to share this, but there was like, I think that a lot of people need to hear this, because for my personal recovery journey, spirituality is my recovery. Like, I have to have it somehow. It doesn't have to be a certain brand, but I have to have it, right? And I met a guy, and I've met a lot of people like this, but for some reason my higher power told me to say this, and I just thought it was so awesome, and it's something that I believe in. He's like, I have a hard time believing in God, and I don't know what to do. I always keep going back out and drinking, and I don't know what to do. The God part's really messing me up. Will you help me? And it's a blessing and a little bit much sometimes that people know that I'm going to school to be a pastor, because everybody's like, help me.
Tell them what to do.
Never mind, I'm going to school to be a plumber. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I love it. I actually love it. That was a joke. But so I was like, check this out. Breathe in. Breathe out. He's like, okay, cool. Okay, did you make that air? No. Okay, cool. Did you make your lungs? Oh, okay, cool. Did you make your nose? No. Oh, okay, cool. Did you make it so that air keeps you alive? Okay, cool. So you need that breath every single time, right? Do you know where it came from? No, not really. Okay, cool. So that's a gift from something that's more powerful than you. Right there. That's your higher power giving you a gift. So if you can't, if you're out there and you can't understand how something out there is giving you, is going to give you a beautiful life or not, just breathe.
Yeah.
I didn't make the air. That's way more powerful than me. So,
that is really powerful.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
My wife and I was on a road trip, and a gal reached out to us and heard about our podcast, said, hey, my sister's really struggling. Would you be willing to speak with her? And I'm like, well, I'm not a counselor. I'm not licensed, but, I'll give her a call. Gave her a call, and she was talking about how much she was struggling, and it was over the Bluetooth in the vehicle, And my wife jumped in and said, hey, do you believe in God? She's like, I'm just kind of, I don't know where I'm at with this and things like that. And she goes, well, do you believe in something greater than you? And she's like, well, you know, and she's still kind of ho-humming around. And my wife threw at her this that she heard in an AA meeting once. This guy got up and talked, and he says, I don't believe in God. I just don't.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, I knew to get through this program, I had to believe in something greater than me. And he said, so my goldfish, that's what I picked, is my fish.
Sure.
That my fish is greater than me because I can't breathe underwater. The fish
Right,
can breathe
for
underwater, you know? And so my wife said, look, if you don't want to believe in God, find something that's greater than you, whether it's a mountain, whether it's a rock, whether it's a fish, whether it's a twig, something, because something created that. That is great. And I mean, something created us. But she's like, just find something. And when she hung up, when she hung up, I just told my wife, I'm like, that was flippin' amazing.
Right. It's true.
That was so cool. So, yeah.
It's amazing.
Well, Ashton, sir, man, thank you again so
of
much
course.
for being on the show. Really do appreciate you and appreciate what you shared with Janess and I. We
Thanks for having me, guys.
Really
we both
fantastic.
love doing this because of it's different.
Right.
The stories in a way are almost kind of the same, but they're not. It's something different every single time we have somebody come in. So thank you.
Yeah, thank
it
you,
really
guys.
was a pleasure. I loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thank you again for all your support. We greatly appreciate all of you. We're going to leave you with this, as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything.